Alright guys, Jesus is King, the new Kanye West album, is finally out. After a crazy album release cycle, I don't know, almost a year if you count the initial Yandhi announcement, it's here, we heard it, let's talk about it. It's a tough time to be a Kanye fan, folks. It is hard being promised an album and then having it disappear, get delayed, concerts popping up all over the place, but you know what? It's Kanye West, and for his entire career, it's been a hard enigma to follow at times, but it's always worth it. He always puts out something that's worth talking about, worth appreciating, and usually worth the wait. Jesus is King is the first Kanye West album after his announcement that he is denouncing secular music. Eschewing all of the sex, drugs, whatever he had rapped about on previous records, he is now doing everything in tribute of the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, I am not a religious person at all, so I was a little worried upon hearing this that his album, or whatever he released after this album, were going to be super religious and alienating and make me feel uncomfortable as someone who doesn't really appreciate organized religion. I will say this with confidence, this album did not alienate me, but there were elements of it that I thought were a little too religious, but we can get into that as we get into the track list. It's interesting following the story behind Kanye's entire artist career. The guys from Watching the Throne, my favorite Kanye podcast, were talking about this arc, and I thought it was really interesting. Cliff notes being, he started off, Jesus Walks, he was supporting Jesus very early on in his career, and then he's kind of got more famous, he got more successful, he got more bravado, he got cockier, then his mother died, he got extremely sad with 808s, he came back like a phoenix with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, he then thought he was a god. We just watched his career evolve, and we watched his life evolve. He got married, he had kids, that's kind of what Ye was about, a little bit of Pablo. And then we had the Wyoming albums last year, where he was battling with his own bipolar disorder on Ye. And then we had Kids See Ghosts, which the end of, he was asking God to save him. This is the beginning of what we have to look forward to on Jesus is King. This is kind of like a redemption arc. And I think it's interesting with the first track on the album, it kind of brings it into that. Every hour, the first track, it starts with a chorus, of course. Now, this isn't a full choral album like you're at church, but there are many elements that involve a chorus, and I'll talk about them when they come in. It's super upbeat, though. This feels like We Don't Care from College Dropout, the first track on his first album. It has this kind of like very powerful, uplifting feel, almost like the start of a Chance the Rapper record. I liked it a lot. I think it was a good set the tone for the album as opposed to his last couple of releases that were a little more darker and twisted. You can argue this is a throwback to his roots while also showing what's to come. Selah, the second track, comes in on a much more somber note. Finally, we get Kanye coming in, rapping exasperated, passionately as we're building and building towards this ending that has this incredible Yeezus type feel to it. It's a very intense song, and I liked it a lot. Almost an ultralight beam intensity at times. The ending is raucous and wild, and definitely something out of a Yeezus playbook. Then Follow God, one of my favorite tracks on the album, probably my favorite to be completely honest, but it's way too short. 1:44? This could have been a 4-minute song. I don't know what he was thinking making this so short. The beat is incredible, his rapping is impeccable, it makes you just want to move your head, it's just something about this song is so infectious and so incredible, and it ends just as you're getting into it, which is unfortunate. Closed on Sunday is the most lush, beautiful production on the album. Haunting vocals behind plucking acoustic guitar. This kind of beat is something that Kanye very rarely, if ever, has rapped on. Unfortunately, his lyrics on this song are extremely corny. This is the song that everyone heard about that talks about closed on Sunday, you're my Chick-fil-A. I don't know why you'd take such a gorgeous beat and put such corny lyricism on it. And he ends the song by yelling, Chick-fil-A! I just don't know. I don't know why. It's almost like a joke, but the song itself is still great. I would actually love an instrumental of this song. I think it might grow on me. I think I'll look past the corniness after more listens. But, I don't know. This just seemed like a wasted opportunity. The song itself, lyrically though, outside of the corniness, is a lot like Violent Crimes from Ye. It's talking about his family, protecting his kids, and I like the lyrics a lot outside of what I just established as very corny. On God, the next song, is quite good. It actually almost reminds me of On Sight, the opening to Yeezus, but the intensity of the beat is a lot more upbeat than it is aggressive in the way Yeezus was, which is a nice kind of yin-yang if you're trying to compare the two albums. Also, something worth noting is that the beat almost feels like a video game soundtrack at times. It has a very 8-bit quality to it. I wonder if this came at all from some of the ideas of the scrapped TurboGrafx-16 album he teased a long time ago that was supposed to be video game inspired. Everything We Need begins with some more gospel singing. I gotta say, Ty Dolla $ign kills it on the hook. Sounds great. It's a simple trap beat, but it's a good song. Nothing super memorable, but definitely worth listening to. The next song, Water, which is famous from his performance at Coachella where he debuted it, is very beautiful. It's gone through a lot of iterations since that original performance. It's a very pretty song, extremely well produced, some very strange sounds in it, but overall, it's beautiful. It's an uplifting worship song for sure, but it doesn't feel preachy, thankfully. And this is another song where it almost sounds like a video game in the background. Again, going back to my TurboGrafx-16 theory. And God Is, the song after, this one I don't know if I can get behind. It's a little corny, very worshipy, but not in a fun way like some of the other ones. This is straight out of Going to Church. This song, for me, should have been removed, in my opinion. I think it takes away from the flow of the album. It doesn't accomplish anything new lyrically that we don't already know. And I don't know, something about this song just irked me. I thought Hands On, the next track, was an interesting choice for the album because it has a darker feel to it. It almost feels like something from Ye. It's the first one lyrically that isn't overwhelmingly positive. It's Kanye's fear of being misunderstood with his new direction, being judged by the Christians, being judged by his fans, and kind of where that's taking him. It's almost like a dark place that he's looking to Jesus to give him strength for. I think it's a good song. I enjoyed it. And then Use This Gospel, probably my second favorite song on the album. This was the iconic song that was able to finally reunite Clips for the first time in a very long time. Clips being a classic hip-hop group featuring Pusha T and No Malice. No Malice isn't completely out of the music scene, but he hasn't made music in a while, especially with his brother. But Pusha T is obviously still putting out a lot of good stuff like Daytona, and even his albums before that are definitely worth listening to. It's very cool to finally hear them both on one track again. This is an awesome song. This song feels like a linchpin for the album, something they really focused on when constructing the concept, narrative, and sound. And what's interesting is I feel like this song could have fit in on any album Kanye's put out since 808s, including 808s. I like that kind of chameleon aspect to it. And, I can't lie, the Kenny G sax outro is fantastic. Only Kanye could make Kenny G cool. And then the album's pretty much over. Jesus is Lord is not really a song, it's the final track, but it's just kind of a short 45-second repetitive thing. We get it, Kanye, Jesus is Lord, Jesus is King. We understand that. I feel like it should have ended with Use This Gospel, but I'm not Kanye, I'm not religious. This is his album, it's fine. At 27 minutes, this is a short album, but you know what? Just like Kids See Ghosts, it feels longer. The high production of this album allows it to stretch out and capture you in a deeper way that makes it feel like more than a 27-minute fluff piece. It doesn't quite feel like a fleshed out, massive album like one of his earlier releases like College Dropout, but it does feel like he put some thought into it to try to make it feel like a real album and not just a thrown together rushed project. That being said, I went to the listening party and I was really hyped there. I know that it's been through some iterations since then, but I was hoping we were going to get that long, full album after the teases of Ye and Kids See Ghosts, both of which I like, Kids See Ghosts which I love. But this just feels like another kind of Wyoming project in a way where it's not the next big Kanye record like Life of Pablo, Dark Twisted Fantasy. I think my biggest fear is that there's no My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy level opus in Kanye's future plans. As long as he keeps making music like this, I think he'll make some enjoyable albums, but I don't think he's ever going to make one of those iconic legendary records again, which is unfortunate. That being said, his career is extremely impressive. He's still a contender for one of the best artists of all time, I believe. No one has the amount of changes in sound, pioneering sounds for a genre, than Kanye has, with so much back-to-back critical acclaim. Love him or hate him as a person, he's an absolute genius when it comes to music, and that shines through in this album. The production is excellent, some of these songs are amazing. I just feel like the album as a whole feels a little rushed and a little unfinished, and I was hoping that we would get something a little longer, a little more fleshed out, maybe a couple other features. We have what we have. This is only a first impression listen. On first impression, I enjoyed it. Yes, there were one or two songs that I thought were kind of weak. Yes, there were a couple average songs, but there were also some that were incredible. The concept album of Jesus is King was something that I wasn't sure if I was going to jive with, and I think ultimately I do. I may end up skipping God Is every now and then, but it's only 27 minutes total. I can probably sit through it if I need to. On first impression, I do this first impression score on this channel. I just listened to it, I wrote my thoughts out, and I made this video. On first impression, I'm going to give this album a 7.8 out of 10. I think it has a lot of potential to grow on me. I think on one listen there was a lot to unpack sonically with the production. I feel like I liked Ye more on first impression, but I do think that after more time with this album, I'll probably like this more than Ye. I just have a hunch. So it falls in the bottom half of his catalog for sure, but that's not to say it's a bad album because Kanye's catalog as a whole is pretty exceptional. So please leave a comment in the description with your thoughts. I would love to hear what you think of this album, the good, the bad, the ugly. This has been such a hyped release. I'm very excited to hear what the outcome is from the fans. So leave a comment. Let's talk about it. I hope you guys like this first impression review, and there's tons of more content coming on this channel soon. Take it easy, guys.